So traditionally, the candidate who gets the highest percentage of votes in Tehran is the speaker. And we will know in the coming weeks whether that is going to still be the case or whether Larijani might take that role. In any event, Larijani is planning on a prominent role in Parliament. He confirmed in this interview that one of the reasons he ran for Parliament is because it's the one body in Iran that cannot be dismissed by the Supreme Leader. Under Iran's clerical system, as you know, the Supreme Leader has enormous power, but he cannot dismiss the Parliament. So there are possibilities here for engagement with the United States, for perhaps meetings between their Parliament and our Congress. Again, Larijani was a bit cagey on this. He said he'd seen some previous proposals, but they weren't very concrete. But he suggested that he would be open to this sort of dialogue. And I see the faces of people in this room who've been trying to get this kind of exchange going for years. The Parliament is likely to be critical of Ahmadinejad, certainly very critical of the economic situation. And it will set up a certain environment, a certain climate for the presidential elections next year, which could be interesting. Now, the real question is, will Ahmadinejad run again, or will the Supreme Leader decide to tell him to step aside for the benefit of the nation? There are a number of other conservatives who would like to take his place. Many of them ran for president before and lost. Ali Larijani, Mohsen Rezai, and Kalibaf all tried and failed in 2005. They're all candidates again. I had someone who's close to the Supreme Leader tell me that this time it was going to be Haddad Adel, the current speaker of the Parliament, that he would run for president. And he said that Larijani would have a prominent role in the next administration. He would be foreign minister or national security advisor again, and he would negotiate the deal with the United States that we all have been waiting for so many years. An interesting scenario. It's possible that this will happen. I also asked Ali Larijani about a recent proposal that was made by former Deputy Secretary of State Tom Pickering, who I see here in the office, and Jim Walsh and Bill Lewis, of a possible solution on the nuclear front, an international consortium that would run a uranium enrichment facility on Iranian soil. And Larijani said, well, he said, you know, this doesn't come from official sources, does it? It's not a governmental proposal. And I said, no. He said, well, if it comes from a government, we will study it. So that's the response you get from Ali Larijani. One sense that I had, this was the first visit I'd had to Iran in 2 years, and definitely attitudes on the nuclear program have hardened. As Scott pointed out, the government has been drumming into the heads of the Iranian people that nuclear energy is their legitimate right, and you really don't find anybody who questions the notion that Iran should have a nuclear program, should have the fuel cycle anymore. Nuclear weapons are not spoken about. That's not supposed to be something that Iran wants to have. Iran denies it wants to have weapons. But I think the government has been very effective in convincing Iranians that they really must have a nuclear program and must have a fuel cycle. As I mentioned, the reformers are demoralized. The conservatives certainly feel that they have effectively crushed an incipient reformist comeback. And so I think they're feeling pretty good about themselves these days. But I think the economic situation still provides an opening for dialogue with the West. There are things that Iran needs. The sanctions have hurt, particularly the banking sanctions, and there should be plenty to talk about, but probably not until we have our own presidential elections in this country. Uniformly, I heard from Iranians that they had given up on Bush. Larijani said he was very disappointed. In an interview I did with him 2 years ago, he made a big overture toward the Bush administration. He called Stephen Hadley, our national security advisor, a logical thinker. And I asked him about that remark this time and asked him whether he still thought that way, and he said no, he changed his mind, and that there were lots of opportunities, but unfortunately the United States had not taken any of them up. So I think I'll stop with that and look forward to your questions.